Okay, thank you very much. Thanks, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here, and I appreciate the opportunity to share Wild Apricot with you. It is a system that I've been using since the first year that they launched, which was about 7 or 8 years now. They are based in Toronto, Canada, but they provide a great solution for nonprofit organizations to be able to harness the power of technology, which is one of the reasons I like their offering, because that's my sort of plan, as well as to connect people with the power that technology offers in our lives. And fortunately, technology has evolved to become simpler over the years, which is a good thing. So these days, you know, with some introduction, it's a good thing. We've got lots of scope now. So I just created a document, a PDF document, which I'm going to share now. And this will give you just an overview or an agenda, if you will, for today. We're going to talk about Wild Apricot and sending newsletter for your organization. And newsletters are a key communication tool. And I know, you know, we're kind of preaching to the choir with you guys. Know you're already professional communicators and you know the importance of keeping in touch and the newsletter. But the problem today is that there's such a competition for people's attention, and that's why when we're putting our newsletter together, we are really mindful of how much information people are bombarded with these days, and that they have a lot on their plate to choose. But as members of VPC, then it's a good value that you are able to have this newsletter to keep you up to date with all of the goings on in your profession. So today we will do an intro to Wild Apricot and sort of a high-level look at newsletters, and then drill down into actually how to compose and send newsletters using Wild Apricot. And the system of Wild Apricot is unique in the way that they use it here, but the principles are the same for any other email service providers, such as Constant Contact or MailChimp or GetResponse. And there are reasons why, you know, people prefer some over the others, and some people start off with a free service such as MailChimp, and then you can grow as your when you're starting to create your newsletter, a good practice would be to take this sort of good, clean template and make a duplicate of it rather than editing the actual template itself, unless you wanted to make a change to the actual structure of the template. So start by clicking on duplicate, and then when that opens up, it gives you the opportunity to give this an actual template name, which is, let's call this one VPC Galley Proof, and we'll give it today's date, which is July 16. And then this subject is probably one of the most important things that's in the newsletter, because without an appealing and unique subject line, people might just ignore or overlook, some of the content. And in your organization, it's a little bit different because you are very specialized and you're a small group, small-ish group, I should say. But for the people who are broadcasting emails to hundreds or thousands of people, this subject line is sort of the key to even have people open it in the first place. So galley proof template, I'm going to just call this is our excellent newsletter. And we'll hope that someone will think that's worth having a look at. So if I click on save, then it's just saving it to this point, but it's not actually overwriting the original one that we started from. So you can see now that we have the title and of the subject, and we also have the title of the template here that I've just changed, so that isn't overwriting the original one. And we can now continue to edit this template and make any changes to the content that we want to update. So for example, we have an opportunity here to say month and year. So I'll start with that to say July 2015. And if I scroll down a little ways, you can see this subject and headline. And this is where you would be changing this to be the subject of this newsletter. So I've called this our excellent newsletter. Subject is excellent newsletter. So the subject that you have in your subject line would be then reflected in the content of the headline, and obviously all the way through the content. So it's like this subject is a teaser for you to know what's coming and why would I be interested in reading this newsletter. And then the content that we're adding here, one of the things that's a really good idea is before you actually, quite likely you have composed a document either in a word processing document or in a notepad text editor, such as this one. And if you have your content ready to go, then it's quite easy to copy and paste and put it into the template itself. And I think that it would be my recommendation is to create your content offline, if you will, and have it in a document ready so that you can copy and paste. But I will make mention of the importance of making sure that you don't copy and paste right from a Word document or another word processing document, because there's a lot of code that we can't see, but once it gets pasted into this HTML on the web browser for Wild Apricot, then it can do funky things, which we're trying to avoid that. And just for your own sanity saver, I would put your content into the notepad, which will strip out any formatting. And I'm on a PC at the moment, so for me it's Control-C to copy and Control-V will paste, or you can highlight the text, and on this system I can right-click and choose to paste. Now here it is giving me the opportunity to paste as plain text. It already is plain text, so I don't need to do that. I'm going to say paste, and then I've actually got the same text, so you're not seeing any changes there. But if we want to make a change with a particular word, or we want to bold something, or any specific changes within the content itself, it would be as simple as highlighting that word or sentence. And then up on the tool menu, I just want to make sure you can see that. Yes, you can. Okay. on the tool menu. I've highlighted the word Detroit here, and if I wanted to make that a link, a hyperlink to a website with more information about Detroit, for example, here I would click on link and insert link, and this opens up, and we could put in here the URL of the site that we want to have. Say just Detroit.com. Oops. So Detroit.com and insert link. Now, it is good practice to open new links which take you off-site in a new window. If you're including a link to your own website, it would normally open in the same window so that you're not having your visitors have multiple windows open. But it's good practice if you're sending them to an external website to have this go into a new window. And at the bottom here, we just insert link, and you can see now that's become automatically a hyperlink. Now, if I wanted to create a link to an internal page which is on the VPC site that exists. Now, in this case, there's two things. One is that because the way Wild Apricot is embedded into your VPC site, it's a little bit different. For example, here we would have site page, and that if we were going to say have a look at these events that's coming up, we could literally link to the event page here. But because VPC is actually, for all intents, this might be a little bit confusing, and I apologize, but it is saying that the VPC site, which is this one, vapc.org, if we wanted to say this is where you join, we would actually be doing that like so. And in this case, because we want them to stay on the VPC site, it would be the same window. That's a little bit different if we were on a site that was completely created by on the Wild Apricot platform, as opposed to a WordPress site with Wild Apricot plugins. We would be doing everything from in here to link to the internal pages. The pieces that you are using are the events and the directory, so we can make links to those from this place, from the site page, whereas to link to the actual, like if we wanted to go to the home page, for example, then we would be including that link, but we would say open in the same window. So there's a little bit of an exception there to my rule, which says if you put a website link here, that you're opening it in the new window. That's if you're going away from vapc.org. So we'll include that link here. The default is, the default color of the hyperlinks is controlled by the design of the whole website. And so this color scheme that you're seeing here is consistent with the look for VPC, and then you see that all across with the the purple and then the links down in here. So if we decide now that we are pleased with that text, but now we might like to add an image, then we can come up to the toolbar across the top and insert an image. And images which have previously been uploaded will be available for you right from the gallery here. Now in this case we only have one image, so I'm going to choose that one. If you wanted to upload additional images, then it would be as simple as clicking on Browse, and that would be looking on your local machine, on your local computer, to be able to upload an image, and then it would be available for future use. So this gallery here can be, this can be growing all of the time. And, the old saying is, a picture's worth 1,000 words. So having good imagery in your newsletter can be really a good idea. And if you can notice down at the bottom here, there's options for sizing. The default is original. There is also the option to make the image large, medium, small, and then all custom. And if you click on custom, then you can choose the size of the image, and it will keep the ratio, so it's not going to appear distorted. But for this purpose now, I'm going to choose original. And the other thing to keep in mind is the alignment within text. So the text flowing around the image, and the positioning, whether it's going to be on the left or the right, and whether or not we want to add a border. We can add a border here. Let's put a medium-sized border around the image, and we'll leave the text flow like so, and then just say OK. And there's the image. And now if we decide we don't like that appearance for some reason, when you mouse over, you can see the settings will just appear. And once you click on settings, it is going to come back up to that same dialog box that we just had. Now I chose medium for the border width, but I didn't see an actual image, a border come around that. So I'm just going to leave it with none and then look into why we didn't actually get a border around that. So in this case, if we click on the actual image to select it, then we can actually also center and right align the image. So once you've selected either your text or the image, then you can actually move it to the left or to be centered, or over to, to either side of the screen. So I'm going to go back to left for that image. And you can see that my mouse is flashing, so I'm just to the right of the image at the moment. And once I enter a couple of times, then I can continue typing here. So more information to be included here. And we could make this a hyperlink. We'll just do that one more time, so that gives you an opportunity to see that linking feature again. Link, insert link, and we'll go to APC. There we go, insert link. Now, again, I'm going to keep this the same window because it is the VPC website, so insert link. And if we decide we'd like that to be larger, it is possible to change the size of the font. We can make it as large, as we want to. But again, you want to make sure that everything is in keeping with the design that has been created, so that it's consistent for everyone as they get used to the look and the layout. One of the things about designing a newsletter is to keep in mind that it's not intended to be, it will not be read the same way as a print newsletter. So that even though in the past you might have had, in your organizations, you might have had an opportunity to send out a newsletter via mail, reading a newsletter via email is not the same. So we really want to give lots of opportunity to link back to our main website, to explore, upcoming events or the latest news, or perhaps a new blog post. And as your newsletter grows and adds more value to your members, they might share, if that's allowed, if they might share with people, which might help you to grow your membership. And if you can think, I think Gail was saying that the regular newsletter goes out about every 6 weeks. So lots of life has been happening in those 6 weeks for everybody. So it's a good way to get back in touch and perhaps give an overview of some of the blog posts, just a brief link to make it easy for people to find the information that's been added to the website. You could have a section that's, what's new or latest happenings on your website. Just to make sure that you're driving that traffic to go back there all of the time. Now, down towards the bottom here, you can actually see something called organization URL. Just making sure that you're still seeing where I'm up to. Organization URL is it's called a macro. And within the Wild Apricot system, up here on the top right of the toolbar, there's an opportunity to insert many different kinds of macros. So I'm just going to position my mouse at the end of this text and give myself some space to work, and then go up to the macro. And what the macro is doing is, rather than having to type out Virginia Professional Communicators every time that's required, if I select this macro and insert it here, then when we do preview, you will be able to see that it has not behaved like it should. There we go. I expected to see that it would show me the full organization name, and I believe that's because we're in preview mode, but on the real test email, that it would behave correctly. Let me just save and preview again to see. Edit template and preview. Yeah, I believe that I will confirm this, but my understanding is that in the actual email that you will be able to see the full information here rather than this macro that I'm talking about. But just so that you can have an understanding of all of the options, let me go back here to this organization name and the macros. Gail's email address is here for the organization's contact email. The actual URL for the Wild Apricot system is an option, and lots of opportunity here to customize for each individual member. So for example, if we were to include this contact first name at the beginning, actually let me do that. I'm going to cancel from here, and we could come right up to the beginning and say hello and leave a space and insert contact first name, insert macro, and at the end of that line we would include a comma, because what this is going to do now is extract the contact's first name from every one of the contacts that you are sending to, so it becomes a customized newsletter that they will be receiving rather than a generic one. Now that's optional, but that's how that can be done. That's not, 100% essential, but it's one of the features that is available. So back up to macro again here on the toolbar. And if I navigate down a little bit further, you can see that there's a large amount of information here that can be included, but I really believe that there's probably only a handful that you will be using. Most of the time it will be things like the organization name, URL, the contact's first name. Quite likely you're not going to need the last name in a newsletter, but this is just good to know. This is FYI that this is available to make it very consistent and then personalized for the people who are going to be reading and receiving your newsletter. So we've looked at including an image, and we've looked at including a link. A file is also possible. So for example, if you had maybe a brochure that you received from an organization, file link, you would give it an appropriate name. And this is where, again, we just highlight the information that we want to be the hyperlink, and then we would choose file. And this is going to allow you to navigate to the location where the file would be. Now, normally on the web, we're normally using PDF files. So you would navigate by clicking on Browse. You would navigate to the location for that PDF file, and then it would be easy just to pop it in here. It's very straightforward, really, and consistent, so that whether you're including a link to an external website, a link to a site that is within the VPC, or to a file, it is all managed up here with the file and link. Tables, I don't believe you'll be using tables with already having this in a nice format that's laid out for you. This HTML button, just if you click that, it just shows you that all of the wording that you're seeing is actually being converted into a HTML code behind the scenes. And this is where the importance of stripping out any extraneous code from your word processing document is so important, because it can really play havoc with how the HTML behaves. So once you know that you've got good, clean text from your notepad or from your text editor, and you paste it in here, then you know it's not going to interfere with the HTML code. I will just take a moment just to go across this toolbar. You can see that all of the usual suspects are here. You've got a numbered list, you've got bullets, you can indent the block or move it out again. This is for alignment, left align, justify, right align, justify full. And this is where you can change the color of the font. So if I wanted to, for example, change this file link that I have here, if I wanted to change that to, let's say, a pretty blue, and I can make it bold, and I can make it larger. So, that doesn't necessarily go with your color scheme, but that's just giving you an idea of what's possible. If you wanted to change it to something in keeping with your scheme, then the purple is probably the better way to go. Oops, there we go. If we decide we don't like that, we can undo. Magic undo button is here, so we can undo both of those things. Take it back. One more time, and then it's back to black again. It gives you the ability to highlight, so we can highlight that wording and put something with a yellow highlight. So if there's a comment that you would like to really stand out, then the highlight feature is a nice one that's there. This is Format Painter, which is just like in your word processing package where you might, we've already got this highlighted here. If I click on Format Painter, then it's going to highlight the other. It's really just taking that formatting so that you don't have to create it again. You cannot just, it's a very neat feature, that one. And then we can clear the formatting. But see, what happens when you clear formatting is that it takes all of it so that your font has changed as well. And so rather than using clear formatting, I would be inclined to undo where I had used the Format Painter. So there's always lots of different ways of accomplishing the tasks that you're doing. We are in HTML mode, as I mentioned, and HTML relies a lot on styles. In fact, they are essential. And in your format for the newsletter, you likely have headings defined, and that makes it easy to move between the different styles without you having to do the remember the font and the code and what have you. So that's all been pre-configured. But here is where you can change the font if needs be. So these are the standard fonts that are available. And I wouldn't really recommend that because you already have a nice template that looks quite nice. And then this is the font size. This is talking about the line height, which is, I would leave that alone as well, but just that is where you can change it. And then the usual bold, italic, and underline is available here. So that's in a nutshell how to use some of this formatting that's available. But I'm guessing that you've come across a lot of these things in your work with other document creation tools. So I like that it's consistent, and with Wild Apricot, they've made it very simple to transfer the skills that you already have rather than having to go and learn something new. So right down at the bottom is the ability to click on preview. And this is where we can actually see the changes that we've made. And you could, I don't know whether you can see, but down in this bottom left-hand corner of this blue box, if I make it a bit smaller, down in this bottom left corner, when I hover over the link, you can see down in that bottom left corner, the vapc.org website is mentioned. So it's one way to verify that your links are in there correctly. And of course, another way is to actually click on them to test them. I'm not going to do that right now because I don't want to open more browser windows just in case it has any effect on the performance with this online session today. But that's how you can just very quickly mouse over some of your links so that you can just test visually to make sure that they look good. It is always essential to preview and test, your newsletters, because you want to make sure that people are going to have a good experience. I've received newsletters, and it's somewhat frustrating when you think something is a link and it doesn't work. So it's all really about the end user experience and how they are going to enjoy working with what you're providing for them. Yes.
Go back down to where you were. I want to ask a question.
Yes.
You can see where it says connect with VPC on LinkedIn and find us on Facebook.
Yes.
How do you set those up?
If we click on here, do you know what your address is on LinkedIn? Do you have a LinkedIn?
We do have a group on LinkedIn, but I don't know what the address is right off the top of my head.
Okay. If with that text highlighted, if I click on link and edit the link, it recognizes that a link already exists. Now that one is pointing to Twitter right now. So what we can do is change it to linkedin.com. Now let's just say this is probably not true, but I can look it up and do this for you. But essentially what you're doing is pointing it to the exact address that you want it to land on. Okay. So LinkedIn / whatever that is, that the group name or that kind of thing, and then apply changes down at the bottom here.
Okay.
And then it would be the same thing for find us on Facebook. It would be highlight the text, link, edit link, and then Facebook / let's say that's VAPC as well, just, for a demonstration. So it would be just really making sure that you have the URL of the destination where you want it to land, and then you can paste it into here. And I'd be happy to help you with that, Gail, after.
Great.
When we've got the actual specific URLs. And do you have Twitter as well? Is that, are you working with Twitter? Not yet, but if you wanted to add that in here, it would be the same thing. You would have Twitter, and then we would highlight this, and we would just come back up and make a link, insert link, and then this would be twitter.com, and then VAPC. So just oops, and then be really vigilant to check your links, because I missed out the C there, so that would get me into trouble. So twitter.com, and just make sure that you have it correct.
Okay.
And then just add it like that. I'm going to take that out for now.
And what about the organization name and all of that at the bottom? Is that correct as it is, or do we need to change that? The copyright organization. I think that's a macro.
It is. This looks fine. Copyright 2015 organization name is fine. I'm going to look at this one here, because somewhere you need to have your address appear, and it doesn't look like what I'm seeing here, that your full address of the organization is on here. That's one of the requirements of the the anti-spam people, organizations, and the protection, so that companies must include their full address on their email news communications. So
and we don't really have an address. We just have addresses of individuals, so probably need to use mine.
Do you have a mailing, like if someone was mailing your organization, would that be your address?
Probably.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that really ought to be included down there. And it's good that you have unsubscribe, because that's another one of the CAN spam initiatives, is to always provide an opportunity for unsubscribe. Which in your case, because of your professional membership, professional association, is not really, these kind of rules apply across the board for everybody who's sending email newsletters out, and there has been abuse in the past, but not at all to suggest that there's anything like that here. But this word unsubscribe, you have to give people a way to be able to do that.
Right.
Yeah. So that's good. That's good. But I will check this. And we can tweak to make sure that the address gets included.
We have had an issue with members accidentally unsubscribing, and it really creates a problem, because they don't mean to, and then it's really difficult to get them back in.
Okay. We could make it a little bit harder then. There are ways to do that, and you and I can, I'll tell you my sort of suggestion about that, and we can decide how we want to do that. I mean, it is as simple as clicking to unsubscribe, but if you, as you say, it makes it, if people inadvertently do it, then it can cause some grief, and maybe that's not ideal. So we can chat about that.
Okay.
About the best approach. Okay. So I am just going to save that. So essentially what we've done is take that base template of the galley proof, we've modified it so that it has got the content that we want to have. It's got the date, July 2015. It's got our customized title subject. And again, you know, this is meant to be a unique title so that it's going to be appealing to them. And then this is the actual template name. Now, Gail, I'd be happy to speak with you about coming up with a naming convention that would be, you know, appropriate for you to use. The date is one good one because that's good for today, but we can talk about that anyway. So down here, we talked about changing the subject headline here so that it, and the word subject doesn't really need to be in here because it is the subject, but this is, we change that. We included some hyperlinks. We were talking about the idea of links that go off-site, open in a new window, links that stay on the VP site, open in the same window. We inserted an image. You can actually make an image a hyperlink as well. So if, for example, you had an event, let me just edit this template. If, for example, you had an event and you were sharing some photos from the event with your membership, and this was a picture of the evening, for example, you could highlight the image and then click on link to insert a link, and you could either send them to the directly to the overall events page or the specific events page, which you would have already determined that URL and you would have it ready to paste in here. And that's kind of a nice feature because the image is larger. And people, you know, if you're mousing over, you might see that that's a link. And you almost train your membership to anticipate how you're going to be presenting information. So if you can think of consistency going forward so that, you know, they get used to the idea that if there's an event, a photo from an event, that it will be a clickable link. And then because you really are trying to encourage them to visit your website. For lots of reasons, you know, validation that they appreciate their membership, the value, to find something that they hadn't seen before, just to keep up to date with the latest information. So that's sort of what I had for composition. Is there anything else you can think of, Gail, that you'd like me, before I go on to how do you actually send this now?
Let's ask the attendees if they have any questions. They can enter them in the chat window.
Okay, thank you.
It takes just about 30 seconds for the information to get to them and then back.
Okay. Okay. So while, you know, we give everybody an opportunity to think if they have any questions, I am going to go to the right now I'm on emails over on the towards the right here, emails. I'm going to move over to contacts and list. So there's two ways to send an email blast. They call them in Wild Apricot, they call them an email blast. And one way is to come this way, to come to the list of contacts first, and you can, for example, have saved searches. I'm going to click on this link here, and you can see if Gail wanted to, for example, send a newsletter to all of the board members, then here we have saved searches for the board members, as well as you can see the districts, Eastern District, Central District, all of the different ones that have been already saved, which is a time saver and highly recommended. So this is great that we have this available. So if I click on the link to board members, what that's doing is, instead of showing me an entire list of all of the contacts in the system, it is showing me 15 records are found for the board members. So now if I wanted to send an email newsletter to those folks, only those 15, then I can click on email contacts on the link up here. And what that allows me to do then is to choose the newsletter. Now let me see if I can find the one, this one here. the one that we were just working on. So this is the July 16th, and I'm going to click on that, and it will open up. When I click on next, it will open up in the window to say, this is our excellent newsletter, which is the subject that we gave. This shows you that it's going to the selected contacts, which are the board members. Now, if we want to enable link and open tracking, we can enable that. And what that will do is allow Gail or any of the other administrators to be able to see if people have actually clicked on any of the links and which emails have been opened. That's a very nice feature. The information for the reply to is populated automatically because Gail's information is in here. However, you can change it. Excuse me. You can change that contact. So if it was one of the other board members, for example, that was sending out a news item, then it can be changed here. Excuse me while I have a sip of water. So this is actually ready to, we've already created it. So that's one way of doing it, is that we go in first and create the newsletter, and then second, we come and decide who it is that we want to send it to. That's my preferred way of working, because once I know that I've finished with my design and my content, then I know that I'm confident now that I don't really even need to come down here other than to verify that I am definitely working with the correct one, which we know we are because we have our title here, and we also have the title from when we chose the July 16th template. So at this point then, I would be happy that I've got the board members selected, I've got the correct newsletter selected, I've enabled the link and open tracking here. So I would click on preview and send. And when this opens up, it allows me then to see exactly what this newsletter is going to look like when somebody actually receives it. So you can actually now, rather than seeing the macro that we were looking at before, we've actually are seeing the first name. And down at the bottom here, instead of seeing the contact email macro, which we were seeing before instead of Gail's information, and so all the macros have been filled in now is what I'm trying to say, that in this preview mode, it actually shows you what it's going to look like when this is actually distributed. Now, I would highly recommend that you send to yourself. Right now, Gail was pre-configured to receive this test, so I would click on send. I'm not going to do that because Gail's here, but it would actually be sending an actual email right to Gail's email address, and then she could have a look. And that's a great way to be able to test the actual links are working. And I would, even though you've been very diligent and careful, I would still highly recommend that you go through each one of the links in the email that you receive to make sure that they're all behaving properly and that you've got no surprises. It's better that you find the surprises than one of your 15 board members, or that you've inconvenienced then 15 board members by having a broken link or a link that's going to the wrong place. So that is just good practice, I would say, to send yourself a test, open it up, make sure you're happy. And then once you are happy with that, then it's one button to click here to send it to all 15 recipients. And then what happens after it's been sent, which I'm not going to do, I am going to go to the email. What am I going to do? I'm going to delete this, and I'm going to save and close. I'm going to save and close this one. And I'm going to come back to emails, and this time go to email log. And this is where, if I had sent that, it would have shown 16th of July, and this is the letter that Gail sent yesterday. Probably a reminder maybe about today's webinar. So the 16th of July is the date, and then this is just in chronological order, but you can actually see over here, this is the effect of the opens and clicks and the delivery. So the system is letting you know how many emails have been delivered, how many have been opened, and how many clicks and things have happened within there. And this log obviously can grow to be quite large, but there's lots of opportunity to filter the information by just showing, a specific date range, the last 60 days, or if you wanted to show a specific type, like just show me the manual emails that I've sent or the automatic emails that I've sent. The automatic ones are the system driven. They're the ones that the Wild Apricot system is automatically sending out. So that makes it nicer to be able to work with, rather than having to wade through, a whole pile of information that's in the log. So if I can just recap, when we come into Wild Apricot, the thing that we would see is this dashboard. Usually when you log in, this would be the screen that you would be looking at. And in order to work with email blasts, we are going to need to go to two places. The first one would be emails, email templates, and then choose the template, modify, make a duplicate, make the changes that you require. And then once you're happy with that and it looks exactly as you desire, then come across to contacts, and you will go into list mode first. This is the list of all of the contacts in the system, and click on saved searches. Now, this is ideal, if you have saved searches that you use regularly, but if you want to do a new search, then you can just literally come into simple search and start to pare down if you want just people with membership or non-members, for example. Or you can do a new search, which gives you much finer control, and you can add criteria, which makes it possible to really define who it is that you want to communicate with. And these are the options available here. That you've got contacts, which could be event related. I know that you're not in the donations piece down here, but you can see how much fine control you have over creating the list of the people who are going to receive your communication, which I think is really nice. But in your case, having these saved searches pre-configured is ideal, because then it's a simple task to come in and choose board members or central district, for example, and then be able to send the email. We would click on, if it was central district, then we would click there, and then email contacts, and it would choose all 55 then. And then that's how we would be able to go forward from there. So, Gail, is there anything else you can think of that I didn't cover?
No, I actually do it a little bit differently than you are selecting the recipient. I guess it's fine to do it any way that works for you. I actually stay in emails, and then once the email draft is ready to go, and it's called up, I just then from there select the then I pull up the contacts that I want to send it to from the email.
Yes, yeah, and that's definitely possible. Yes, yeah. There are, in every system, there's just always so many ways you can do it, but that's definitely another way. Yeah, for sure. It's a powerful communication tool, and even though social media is very popular and used extensively, I think email is, and especially when you have the opportunity to be able to personalize it, that's a nice feature that you can do that.
Okay, does anyone who's on the call want to ask any questions? We're at 2:54 and we have another half an hour to go. If anyone would like to ask, I hope they're hearing me.
Okay.
Now is your chance. Does everybody understand how to do newsletter now? Okay, well, let me take it back here from Linda.
Okay, thank you very much.
Let's see.